Genetic testing of human embryos before implantation enables an insight into the embryo's genetic makeup before pregnancy begins. Pre-implantation testing is available for familiar disorders, non-familiar chromosomal errors, and gender selection. Regardless of the specific type of testing, it always requires in vitro fertilization and embryo biopsy. During the in vitro fertilization cycle, the female patient undergoes controlled ovarian stimulation under the care of a board-certified reproductive endocrinologist, Dr. Michael Allen. This is followed by egg retrieval, fertilization in the laboratory, and in vitro culture of the embryos for several days. Embryos are usually biopsied on day 5 or 6 of in vitro development once they have reached a blastocyst stage. Embryo biopsy is performed by Dr. Dmitry Dozortsev, a board-certified reproductive embryologist and a president of American College of Embryology. Patients interested in embryo biopsy will have a consultation with Dr. Dozortsev to address all their questions and concerns regarding the procedure. Dr. Dozortsev has been performing pre-implantation embryo biopsy since 1991, which makes him one of the most qualified experts in the country. He made multiple contributions to the field of reproductive embryology. His latest invention is a microtube holder, which reduces the chance of errors in embryo genetic testing. Dr. Dozortsev personally makes custom-designed microtools for each embryo biopsy he performs at the AFCT. Following embryo biopsy, embryos are frozen individually, and a biopsied sample is shipped for testing. Embryo freezing is safe and is often recommended even for patients not interested in genetic testing. Freezing enables to postpone the embryo transfer into the uterus. This creates an opportunity for the uterus to shed endometrium exposed to high levels of reproductive hormones during ovarian stimulation and build new endometrium, which is better suited for pregnancy. Testing takes from 5 to 14 days. Once the results are available, the patient will begin preparation for an embryo transfer. Screening for non-familial genetic disorders is the most common type of testing. It covers de novo chromosomal errors, which do not run in the family and occur randomly around the time of fertilization. Most people are familiar with Down and Turner syndromes, which are the most common de novo errors. However, any of 23 pairs of human chromosomes can be affected by errors when a particular chromosome is missing or an extra chromosome is present. The chance of a chromosomal error in an embryo increases with a woman's age. By identifying and excluding from transfer embryos with chromosomal errors, the chance of chromosomally abnormal pregnancy is dramatically reduced. This benefit is available to all patients regardless of the number of embryos. By narrowing down the choice of embryos for implantation, chromosomal screening also increases the chance of pregnancy. However, this benefit is only available if a patient has a considerable number of embryos. For patients with only 2 or 3 embryos, chromosomal screening will not improve the chance of pregnancy. Gender determination is included into chromosomal screening at no extra cost. Familial genetic disorders are usually caused by a single gene mutation. They include more than 6,000 conditions, such as cystic fibrosis, Huntington, and Fragile X. Before a patient can start an IVF cycle, which includes testing for a familial disorder, a testing laboratory has to develop DNA probes for each individual case. This usually requires sending blood samples from an effective prospective parent and sometime from both prospective parents and their close relatives ahead of the IVF cycle. This part of the process may take more than a month. Only after the DNA probes are developed, the patient will be enrolled into an IVF cycle. If a couple is interested in gender selection only, embryos can be biopsied as early as day 3 of in vitro development. Gender selection analysis is performed locally at the AFCT facility, with the results available within several hours. This enables embryo transfer the same day without freezing, which may be convenient for some patients. Another unique service offered at AFCT is the gender selection of frozen embryos. This means that if a patient has frozen embryos in storage, we can thaw, biopsy, and test embryos for gender at our site on the same day and transfer them into the uterus without refreezing. Even if a patient's embryos are stored at a different facility, they can be safely transported to AFCT for gender selection and implantation. Chromosomal screening of pre-implantation embryos is generally accurate. However, an extremely small amount of genetic material available at this stage makes it less reliable than testing during the pregnancy. Therefore, all patients are recommended to undergo a confirmatory testing once pregnancy has begun. Here at AFCT, we are ready to meet any challenge to assist you in bringing home a healthy child.